Welcome. Great to have you here. This is a unique moment, a moment that unites all of us. We all face anxiety and loss. We all see broken systems. We all experience the impact of the climate crisis. This is a unique moment. This is a turning point if we choose to make it one. This is a moment to reflect, to learn, to share, and to co-create. And I invite you to contribute. I ask you to contribute. I ask you to partner to fix broken systems. I ask you to join the movement so everyone can step into their change-making power. I ask you to nominate the next generation of changemakers. And I ask you to share your wisdom, your knowledge, your expertise. And I ask you to donate to support changemakers. This is our moment to fix the world. This is our moment to contribute. Today is the day, and you are the one.
So we can wait for another 2 minutes as people join. That's wonderful. So let's begin. Hi, everyone. I am Avantika Jain, a venture consultant at Ashoka India, and I will be your facilitator for this session. We're thrilled to have you join the Ashoka Changemaker Summit on Rediscovering Certainty, where we will explore and reflect on universal truths we can hold on to at a time of unprecedented change. We believe certainty is not obsolete, but overlooked, and we want to embark, together with you all, on a journey towards certainty driven by solutions to the most pressing social issues of our time. I'm very pleased to be spending the next 55 minutes with you all to explore cultural heritage and cultural participation as vehicles for economic inclusion and in Indonesia and Germany. This is important because culture, in all its multiple forms, is essential to address global challenges through its role in economic growth, in human development, as a storehouse of environmental knowledge, and as a symbolic force to bring stability and meaning to communities everywhere. We are joined by two outstanding speakers today who will help us navigate this topic. Um, Please welcome Dini Joseph. She is the founder of Toraja Mello. Dini Joseph is changing the long-standing pattern of outward migration amongst Indonesian women as domestic helpers by eradicating the poverty issues faced by them and creating regenerative economies around the art of backstrap loom weaving in remote communities in Indonesia. Welcome, Dini. We're so pleased to have you with us on the session today. Our next speaker for today is Lizette Reuter. She's a creative producer at Unlabel. Lizette believes that art and culture do not produce the visible, but instead they create visibility. They serve as a bridge to overcome barriers Understanding that inclusion is broadly perceived as complicated and costly to achieve, Lizette sets out to change the practice of key stakeholders in the cultural system, build an inclusive network with them, and leverage that through changing funding frameworks in the political system. Currently, Lizette is also working towards providing support to cultural workers with disabilities. Welcome, Lizette. We're thrilled to have you join us for this session. So just for some logistics, this session will run until 1 p.m. CET, GMT +1, and will leave space for you to participate. How can you contribute to the conversation? Let me introduce Ovidiu Kondarak. He is in charge of selecting Ashoka Fellows in Romania and will be the coordinator for this session. Hi, Ovidiu.
Hello, and very glad to have this session, which spans over 4 time different zones. That's really exciting, and happy to have this opportunity to speak with all of you. For those of you who are watching us from Swapcard, please be aware that there's a chat there that you can use to share any thoughts that you may have, any insights that you might get from the conversation that we have here with our fellows. If you have any questions, please do insert them there. And also, if there are resources, links that you think are useful for our conversation, please use that space. And to kick off, and just to see who is part of this conversation broader, not only those of us who are talking, I invite all of you who are in the session to share with us in the chat your name, the country where you are from, and your favorite movie. And I'm going to also ask our guests here to answer to this question while I'll write in the chat. And I will kickstart by saying that I'm Ovidiu, I come from Romania, and my favorite movie is Men on Fire. So Lizette, what is your favorite movie?
City of Gods, and my country is Germany.
Ovidiu, you're on mute.
Dini, what about you?
Oh, okay. I love Brad Pitt, so he looks gorgeous in Legends of the Fall. I watched that movie so many times until he gets old now. I'm from Indonesia.
Thank you so much, Dini. Avantika, what about yourself?
For me, I think my favorite movie is this movie called Tracks. And it's an Australian movie, but a real story. So that would be my favorite movie. And I'm Indian. I'm from India.
Thank you so much, Avantika. And we're waiting for all of you who are listening in, tuning in from Swapcard to use the chat to share your thoughts. And first of all, introduce yourself so we know who we are talking with. And while you are doing this, I'm gladly going to share a video about Dini's work, and then I'm going to invite her to tell us a little bit more about what she is doing.
Thank you, Ovidiu.
Kami merasa bahwa para penenun dan perempuan-perempuan di kampung-kampung ini sebenarnya perempuan-perempuan yang sangat kuat. Karena kita tidak perlu memberdayakan mereka. Mereka sudah berdaya, mereka kuat.
Habis tamat dari SMP, tinggal di kampung mungkin 2 tahun. Habis itu ke Malaysia lagi 5 tahun. Dulu hasil tenun kan masih tidak laku, dan dulu juga itu harganya agak murah. Jadi saya putuskan ke Malaysia kerja rumah tangga.
Jadi program kami sebetulnya kami namakan menemani penenun-penenun Indonesia ke pasar dunia. Kita perlu memberikan akses ke pasar, akses ke modal. Dan dengan berjalannya waktu, 2012 saya melihat master weaver, jadi penenun-penenun yang ahli di Toraja pada tambah tua, tenunannya makin buruk, lalu beberapa mulai meninggal. Di situ ketetapan hati saya bahwa saya mau membuka pasar jadi terbelah. Kalau gitu saya harus balik lagi ke komunitas dan melakukan regenerasi segera.
Kami sekeluarga penenun semua, mulai dari mama, saya sendiri, dan anak saya Evi. Menenun itu penting bagi keluarga kami. Itu peninggalan dari nenek moyang kita, jadi harus ditingkatkan dan harus ditinggikan kualitasnya.
Kami mempunyai prinsip yang to yang. Kami di komunitas, terutama komunitas penenun, ingin melakukan regenerasi. Kami ingin bekerja membangkitkan anak-anak muda penenun. Dan mereka terus menenun untuk membiayai kehidupan mereka, untuk masa depan mereka, dan juga rasa bangga bahwa penenun itu adalah sama profesinya seperti dokter atau insinyur. Jadi dengan berjalannya waktu, kami juga makin melihat bahwa cita-cita kami untuk meningkatkan kesejahteraan penenun ini adalah suatu mimpi yang panjang. Karena sebetulnya dari survei yang kami lakukan, ada keterbatasan dari para perempuan-perempuan ini untuk menenun. Contohnya mereka hanya bisa menenun 4 jam per hari. Karena mereka ada perempuan-perempuan luar biasa yang bekerja keras mengurus anak atau cucu, ke ladang, belum panggilan upacara-upacara adat dan lain-lain. Untuk itu perlu ada pendekatan yang lebih komprehensif atau menyeluruh. Contohnya bantuan untuk beasiswa untuk anak atau cucu penenun, untuk membantu biaya mereka sekolah. Ada juga soal biaya kesehatan, terutama biaya untuk kesehatan reproduktif perempuan.
Saya pikir hasil tenun saya sekarang agak lumayan membantu keluarga dan anak saya.
Yeah. So actually, I started working with the weavers in Toraja, which is an indigenous ethnic group, one of the about 400 indigenous groups in Indonesia. When I saw so many of the women in the village left the village to work as household help or sex workers in Malaysia and beyond. And at the same time, there was a dying culture of weaving or handwoven textile in the village. So it was actually a simple idea of like, if we put 2 and 2 together, I think we can help to give them an option that they can make money and stay home in the village instead of going away. And because there is a family breakdown when the mothers go away. And at the same time, Indonesia has been famous about batik, but it's already registered in UNESCO as a heritage. So, but handwoven textile, nobody was care about it like 10 years ago. So I was thinking, if we focus on weavers and the weaving, then we can also at the same time preserve and rejuvenate the art and culture of weaving. So that started about more than 10 years ago, 12 years ago. And now we are working in 10 communities with around 1,100 weavers. And I'm happy to share that the women weavers like Juliana, their income has been like 5 times to 10 times than when we started about 10 years ago. And the great thing is now they can walk straight. They feel that their dignity, they regain their dignity. Before, these women are mostly widowed, divorcees, or single women, but now they are proud because they can make money and they can go to ceremonies, because there are many ceremonies in the indigenous communities, and bring a pig or a buffalo based on their weaving. And also their children have started to relearn weaving and can pay their university or schooling fee from the weaving. So there is pride now growing in the community that we are working in. Thank you.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing with us with us, Tini. I completely agree with you. It's so important to preserve these traditional weaving skills and get the younger generation to carry it forward. So the regeneration of this traditional weaving is wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. I would now like to invite Lizette to share her wonderful work with us, starting off with a small video that she's also prepared for us. Thank you. Thank you.
The Unlabeled Performing Arts Company presents Impact. 3 international mixed-able productions with an original approach in the aesthetics of access. Accessibility becomes a source of inspiration, integrated international signs, creative audio description, transformation of spoken text into visuals, integrating surtitles. We connect international artists, stakeholders, scientists and experts by hosting workshops, masterclasses, labs, symposia, summits and performances. New creative pathways allow all audiences equal access to the performing arts. Impart enables us to rethink the stage.
Thank you so much. I'm really delighted to be here today, and I'm also a little bit excited and nervous and very honored to be part of this wonderful network from now on. So I'm brand new Ashoka Fellow, and everything is super exciting at the moment for me. But let me tell you a bit more about our work with Unlabeled. So it's a quite political work. I started developing Unlabeled 6 years ago. And we are really working, supporting the rights to cultural participation with a special focus on people with disabilities. And I believe that culture plays a central role in promoting full human development and realizing the human rights. Access to and participation in cultural life is mentioned in several international instruments. For example, the Convention on the Rights for Persons with Disabilities. And there especially, there's this Article 30, which refers to cultural participation. But this convention provides us with a global framework and a legal global framework and act as a good foundation on which all states should actually act. But it's unfortunately not really well implemented. So it stays quite often with a theory. And many people and entire groups in society still face significant barriers to their cultural participation. When you look, for example, to the numbers, like almost 20% of Europe's population living with a disability, but they are excluded from cultural participation. And especially the European cultural sector must work towards equal representation in their audiences and, of course, in their workforce. So, and it becomes more and more obvious that exclusive cultural programs have a problem of legitimation because they do not address important groups in society. And access to cultural life is both a human right, but it's also a social responsibility. So I wanted to change this with Unlabeled 6 years ago. And we are providing a platform through which cultural actors with and without disabilities can learn from each other. We are developing initiatives, we are building big networks, and we are creating big projects which then serves as a best practice to show that inclusion is possible and that every human being can be part of culture. And so our work is based on 3 strategic pillars. So first, we are creating performances, we are delivering workshops, we are also organizing big international conferences and summits. So we are bringing together artists, experts, science, and yeah, everybody to develop inclusion and to work with each other. And then our productions are presented at renowned festivals and venues all around Europe. But we are also connecting involved artists and cultural actors to a powerful network of first movers who become multipliers in the sector. This is really important. So it's like a snowball effect, which we are hoping to steer. And we are also supporting political actors and stakeholders in their learning journeys to diversity and inclusion. And the last pillar is like the institutional level. We are really working hard with political actors and public funding decision makers at a local, regional, but also European level to change and adapt the current funding structures. Because if these systems do not change, we will not be able to implement inclusion at all. And I always think, so if we fail to implement the UN Convention on the Rights for People with Disabilities, especially in countries with a good social system, like we in Europe are living in countries with a good social system. How will it happen in countries that are not as well positioned as we are? So cultural participation of people with disability is not a nice to have, it's a must have, because it's a human right. So we must remove stigmatization, and access to culture must be available for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Lizette. I completely agree with you. Cultural participation is not just a nice thing to have, it definitely is a human right. And with so much diversity, inclusion is so important to be brought in. And thank you so much for sharing your most wonderful work with us. Moving forward, I would like to ask you, Denny, how are you creating certainty in this unique historic phase that we're currently going through?
I think uncertainty is like consistent, and but this COVID-19 like break all rules, I think, in a way. And but I believe that we have to hold on our values. And I try to share the values that my mother has been like telling me, it's about honesty, being honest, and then hardworking. Hard work is the answer, and of course, respect to yourself and respect to others. And this we try to share with the communities that we work with, and actually like listening to them, these weavers, because we work with rural poor weavers across Indonesia, and they're very strong, very strong women, and who are like faced with problems. I think sometimes I feel guilty for being privileged, because what we are facing now, that we cannot go anywhere. We are not certain that with the logistic lockdown that we cannot get certain food, for example. They've been facing this day to day, actually. And so like listening to them, talking to them, even like at the beginning of COVID-19 in Indonesia, when the government locked down and the weavers, because they are in the outer islands, they cannot get food and cooking oil and all that. When I asked them how can we help, and should I raise funds to send you some money, and their answer is no, please just buy our weaving and then send us money. We don't want free money. So it's like the resilience, they're hardworking, the value that they hold is like consistently there. So I think what we can be sure about is holding on to our values to face this big uncertainty. That's one. And then another one, of course, is like in the film, I believe in working with the young, both in the community of our weavers and also in the market or in the urban area. So because they're our future. And we believe both in the villages and in the market, we have to work together with the young in the regeneration. And of course, listening to them. And one thing I can share is just, there are so many problems we are facing. Please choose one problem you want to solve and just hold on to that. Hold on to that, because you are going to face more and more challenges or problems. Maybe that's what comes. And art and culture is important. I think Lisette agrees with me, because without art, without culture, we are all zombies. That's part of our soul, having art and culture. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Denny. I mean, definitely, it's been such a difficult time for all of us, and just culture, even traditional grassroots level people taking a hit. And how do they carry on their work? As you said, take one problem that you want to solve and just put in all your effort into solving that problem. I think that's a very good advice for all of us to take forward. Thank you so much for that. Moving on, I would now like to ask Lizette to speak about the biggest challenge she is facing today as we go through this unprecedented crisis.
Yeah, there are several factors that's really concerning me greatly at the moment, because first of all, I had the impression that institutions mainly, but also political decision makers are taking the issue of inclusion and culture cultural diversity more and more serious in the last years. I'm talking about the last 2-3 years. And they are really putting it on their agenda. But of course now with COVID, so the whole cultural sector is in a global standstill. And so I'm always talking about these little plants which were growing. And I'm really worried that they are dying at the moment because everybody is so busy and with just struggling for economic survival. And so the issue becomes slightly less important to have more diversity in the cultural sector, to really focus on inclusion. And I'm also a little bit worried because the cultural sector, big parts of them are still dependent on public subsidies. So our governments are currently have to spend huge amounts of money in the fight against the pandemic. But less income than later on from tax money at our governments means less funding opportunities also for cultural programs and cultural institutions. So we from the cultural sector, I really feel believe that we will feel the effects of Corona from the middle or end of next year on really, really strongly. And I believe that we will facing a major setback then. But the most important is that we don't forget to include and to develop other cultural participation activities, because a lot of people with disability are also belonging to a high group or high risk group of Corona. So we really have to take care that these people are not getting even more excluded and that the whole situation is becoming worse at the moment. So we have to find other methods like hybrid forms to deliver workshops online or also to showcase stuff online. So we really have to be flexible and creative over there, that the gap in society is unfortunately not becoming bigger and bigger and bigger. But on the other hand, I also see opportunities because I think everyone really is aware about the importance of culture in Corona times. So imagine a lockdown without culture, without music, without books, without creativity. So people are getting, again, more creative. They are starting to make music at home. They are starting to paint again. So yeah, they are thinking also differently. So I really hope on a long term, it will lead to greater awareness on how important culture is as a breeding ground for our society. And I also hope that this will lead to our systems being questioned and changed, because yeah, culture is not a nice add-on. It's really like the breeding ground of our society. I strongly believe in it. So thank you.
Definitely, definitely. Thank you so much for sharing that with us, Lizette. It completely, I think we're all going through this together, and going virtual has been the way we've all moved forward. And there are so many challenges that come up, especially when you're working with arts and inclusivity and disabilities. Getting technology in there, etc., it can be very challenging. So thank you so much for sharing that with us. Moving on, I would like to ask Ovidio to share questions with us, maybe 2 questions that have come up in the chat. So we can answer some questions from the audience. I see that he has shared one with us. So there's one question for you, Lizette. Don't you think other differences from the norm can exclude you from culture, not only disabilities? As an example, homeless persons are not really considered as part of the society, and as such really can't access culture. So the same for migrants arriving in the country. So just in that sense, that is the question. If you'd like to answer that, please.
Of course, I absolutely agree. So there are a lot of minority groups which are excluded from culture. And with Unlabel, we are really working internationally. So we are also working a lot with migrants. But we are focusing, still on people with disabilities and different backgrounds. But you're absolutely right. So the whole cultural sector has to open up much more for groups, minority groups. So, and we also have to think about different formats. For example, you are mentioning homeless people. So it's also about, for example, creating culture in public spaces where everybody can be involved. So you don't have to buy a ticket and to get access. So these are formats which are really important, and to make culture accessible to everyone. So yeah, of course, we have to include much more people in culture and in the cultural sector which don't have access right now.
If I may share another angle to Lisette, because we work with the rural poor in the outer islands of Indonesia, they are really cut off, and that's why I'm now doing 7 islands whirlwind trip, because we cannot like continue working with the weavers from the Zoom. We still have to visit them and talk to them about like making the weaving in this difficult time, because all the logistic, like mostly like in Indonesia, including rice and yarn, come from the central island of Java. So it's there in the outer island. Even like gasoline, we just arrived in this island, which is the furthest south island of Sumba in Indonesia, and people queue up for gasoline for the car for 2 days to get your car filled. So there are issues, and we are really concerned because poverty, according to the government report, goes back 10 years. In 6 months, the poverty goes back 10 years. So it becomes a very urgent matter for the rural poor. And of course, but at the same time, the good news is the government of Indonesia realizes that the micro enterprises, these women artisans, are actually the backbone of the economy, because actually they together with the cooperatives are like one of the strongest backbone, because in this economic COVID-19 crisis, everybody get hit, but these micro entrepreneurs are actually can get up faster, and then together they're together as like the backbone of the economy. So the good news and the bad news, and government is trying to help the handcrafted industry to take the economy back. So just sharing another part. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Dini and Lizette, for that. So another question that I have that Ovithio has just shared is, what was the most important element of your work that made the communities feel empowered and act like change makers? So maybe both of you would like to answer that question. Yeah. Dini, maybe you can go first. Dini. Yeah,
I can go first. Okay. So the question is, how can we move the...
What was the most important element of your work that made the communities feel empowered and act like change makers?
Yeah, from the very beginning, we know that we are only catalysts, because the members of the community, actually these women, they know what to do. What they don't have is access to capital. They don't need much access to the market, and access to technology, or technology support. So what we have been doing is basically helping them to organize themselves to become cooperative. And it's not easy. It takes us almost like 5 years, 3 to 5 years to create a cooperative, because it's about changing the mindset. And then together we collaborate about design on their textile. So along the way, we work together as partners, and also helping them to gain their confidence. And of course, confidence comes from that they can make money from the weaving, and with that they feel confident. But it all starts with community organizing first. The output is a cooperative working together about product design, and then introducing them to the access in the market. With that, they make money, and then they're independent to continue. So they don't have to work for Toraja Melo. They can sell and work for other people. That's the simple steps that we have done. Thank you.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Tiffany. Lizette, would you like to share your thoughts on this question as well?
Yeah. So there were many situations popping up in my mind, but maybe so one situation we had a big performance in Turkey, and we were playing at a huge theater, so with 800 seats, completely full. And there were like a huge deaf community, and I was really wondering how many deaf people are getting here. So there were 30 deaf people in Turkey, and of course we were not so well known in Turkey, but then we played our performance, and the audience were just super excited. They were giving us standing ovations for 15 minutes, and I was really wondering what's going on. And it was quite interesting because they were saying, like in Turkey, for example, like the view on people with disability is so ahead from our German view. So they are really referring to the medical model of disability. And so people with disability are excluded sometimes from their family. So for them, it was, for the audience especially, but also of course for our artists, it was such a huge moment because we really showed with this performance what is possible. And we changed, of course, the view of the people, and so we changed their mindset. And then going back to the 30 people, deaf people, so this deaf community worldwide is so linked together. I don't think that there is any other community which is so well connected worldwide. So they were coming from everywhere in Turkey because there's no offers for them in cultural participation. So this was really one of the brilliant moments I had with Unlabel. But also seeing now that a lot of artists and experts I was working with, they are asked as advisors to go in other big cultural institutions, because it's not a matter about that the people and the institutions, they know their political responsibility also on the topic of inclusion, but they don't know how to do it and how to implement it, and they don't know where to start. So with Unlabel, we really created a network of artists and experts and cultural actors, which are now going and giving advice on to other people and to other big institutions. And I think this is like the snowball effect I was talking before about it, which is just wonderful. And so, yeah, we are trying to plant the seeds everywhere a bit and really to change the mindset of the people.
Yes. That's wonderful. Thank you so much, Lizette. I think we have time for maybe another question, so we can go ahead with one last question. So my question to you is, you just shared another one, yes. What are you eager to explore next with art and culture? Yeah. So maybe Dini, you'd like to go first with this?
Yeah, maybe I have to go back a little bit, because now we have been working on this art and culture of handwoven textile of Indonesia for the past 12 years. And our three-pronged approach now is commerce, collaboration, and consultancy. Commerce is basically we are selling the products made of the handwoven textile. And collaboration, we always collaborate with different parties, different network, including with the community. So we are equal. And also other organizations, including the local government and national government. The last one is the consultancy. This happens as we go along, because now more and more companies, especially like dirty companies like mining industry, like that, they need to change. They need to change, for example, their CSR program. Before they just give the money and get away with it, but now they start coming to us, Toraja Melo, because we have been working on real community-based activities, community organizing. So now we are working with several companies, our organization, how to work, how to take care, how to work together with the communities. Just use one example. This mining contractor company, they now really want to work with the communities around them, and which they took the land for the mining, which they moved from the land so that they can do mining. So we have been doing a lot of discussion and training, both for the company and the communities, to act as equal. So I think that is another level for where we've been working. It's how to rebuild the art and culture of those communities and then regain the pride, the dignity with these bad organizations. Some people were like against us because why do you work with them? But I think if the intention is clear and real, we are willing to work because we have to work together for this Mother Earth. Yeah, so that's one thing. And of course, regeneration, Avantika, because as the regeneration is happening in the community, we are also doing reinventing Toraja Melo, because with this COVID-19, I'm not good at technology. I'm still learning about like this, even the Zoom calls, and I know it will take. We will need the young people to digitalize our operation to replicate what we are doing, but we need technology. So I believe the combination of the young generation and technology, we can work at a wider scale, be it on the community and also in the market. So that's where we are heading now. Thank you.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Thank you so much, Tini. Lizette, would you like to share your thoughts?
Yeah, we are really heading more into a political direction, I would say. So I think the most important is really to change the system and the funding system, because it's also to engage and to motivate other cultural actors to become more inclusive and more accessible. So we need a change in our funding structures, because we are also turning in a circle. For example, especially in Germany, but also in other European countries, I know. So you are not getting access to cultural funds, for example, when you are not considered as professional artist. So, but what means professional, and the academic systems are not yet accessible to people with disability. So this whole system has to change. So it really goes to the educational system, so to the academics. The University for Arts, they have to be inclusive for people with disability. But yeah, also especially the funding structures, like governments, they have to work together in their different departments, because we have money for inclusion. The money is there, but for example, the cultural department, they don't have so much money, but the department for social affairs and work has money for inclusion, but they are not working together. And it could be so easy that the monies are shifted, because inclusion is refers to all parts of society. It's not only education or not only work. So it really goes to all parts of society which are important. So in our work with Anleba, I really see that we have to push much more in this direction, and to make political decision makers aware about it, that they have to change it. Because otherwise, other cultural actors, they won't be motivated. So because everybody is saying inclusion is so expensive, and I saw like a question from Swapcard. So yeah, hosting events accessible, it's an issue. It's not easy going. It's in the beginning, it feels a bit complicated, but when you start it, then it becomes much more and more easy. But for example, we need sign language translators. So yeah, you have to pay them. So we need more budget for accessibility. But yeah, so the governments, they need to change. And you can also have like little changes. So you don't start too big. So just start little, and then it will grow. And I think the impact will be enriching for everybody, because it's really about different experiences from people coming together. So the diversity, it's always when you work in a diverse group, you are learning so much from each other. It's like in the international sector, but also in this inclusive sector. It's just like different experience from different people are enriching our work always.
All right, that's wonderful. Thank you so much, Lizette. So we can maybe go ahead with one last question before moving on to last remarks by the both of you. So just one last question is, what would be some of your recommendations to create more inclusive events? Together with my team, we have started hosting the events as safe spaces for people to meaningfully connect, share, and learn from one another. It is a big task to reach out to all the groups as a small team, and any good case practices would be very helpful. So that's the question. So maybe Lizette, you'd like to quickly answer this question?
Yeah. It's a big topic, and I could talk hours about it, I would say. And please get in touch with me, because we also published 2 books which are really helpful from Unlabel, with like little checklists, what you can do, where you have to think about, how to start, and I'm always willing to give helpful tips. But for example, starting with sign language. So deaf people were excluded for their whole life in all parts of society. So why not to include sign language translators in activities? It's not so complicated, especially now with Zoom. It's super easy. So you can just how it's called in Zoom, that you can plug the screen, and you have the sign language translators involved. So you can, this is easy to do, or relaxed settings. So people don't want to sit, for example, as at an event for hours, or people can't sit for hours at an event. So it's easy to maybe to put a sofa or a beanbag or whatever as a different possibility to sit there, and people might feel more comfortable to join your event. So these are little things, but this topic is really huge, and please get in touch with me, and I can send you the manuals we produced, and there are some good hints inside.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much, Lizette. So just very quickly, we have one last question for you, Denis. So the question is, how do you determine the start point in a diverse cultural area?
What does the question mean?
In a place like Indonesia with such huge cultural diversity, how do you determine where you're going to start, what your start point is, or which community you would like to you want to start working with? Yes.
Okay.
The start point of your work. Yes.
Okay. Actually, we do have criteria. We do have criteria in choosing which community to partner with, and the first is there have to be the pockets or the area where many women go as migrant workers, and most of them either become the household help or sex workers. So because we want to give them option so that they can stay home. And second, the community have not been helped or have not been helped much by any donor agencies or government. So they are basically on their own. The third, of course, because our entry point is handwoven textile or handloom, there has to be an art and culture of handloom in the area, whether dying or disappearing. So that's how we choose our partner communities. And now, of course, if there is an organization strong enough who can or have been working with them to create a community organization, that would be a good area to work with. I hope that answers the question. Yeah.
Yes, it does. Thank you so much,
Yeah.
Denis. Thank you.
Yeah.
So just now that we're just 10 minutes away from the end of our session, maybe we can move on to the last remarks that you have for our audience. So maybe starting off with Lizette.
Yeah, so due to the current situation of COVID-19, so for me, it's really to think, or also to make everybody think about the importance of culture in our society as a breeding ground. So I think it's really important that we are all supporting the cultural participation, and that's not getting shifted as something, as an add-on. So it's really like the breeding ground for our society. It's where it's our culture, it's our history, it's how we are growing up, and so we really have to change our systems, that everybody is able to participate and that everybody has the rights to participate and the possibilities to participate. And so, yeah, I would really like to ask the audience out there really to think about your awareness about culture, maybe by yourself, because we are always so busy with other topics, but think about it. What does it mean for yourself? Your cultural background, your cultural participation, what brings culture for you, and then to support cultural participation for everyone. So I think we really have to focus more on that.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much, Lizette. Oh, Lizette, yes. Ginny, would you like to share your remarks?
Yeah. I'd like to add on what Lisette was saying, but again, because our partners, our communities are from the rural poor, in this time of COVID-19, we have been having so many Zoom calls, and it surprised me also that my friends or my contacts who are like middle upper class do get like depressed, and to me it's like, so I think directly or indirectly, my call to action is please take care of yourself, because people do get depressed, people do get because of this uncertainty, and it's okay to share that you're depressed or you feel broken. But then again, for most of us who still have food on the table, who still have roof over our head, please count your blessings. But then again, please think of others who don't have food, who don't have money. And if we just focus on the art and culture, again, I'm talking in the context of Indonesia, we have such a rich and diverse culture. If we can help the others who are less fortunate than us and focusing on the art and culture aspect of it, because again, without art and culture, we are all zombies, we don't have souls. And the art and culture is what makes us unique as a nation or as people. That makes us different from others, and that is the beauty of that. I hope I make sense.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ginny. That was wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that with us, Ginny and Lizette. So before we all head off to the next session, I'd just like to take a moment to reflect on the relevance of the insights we've gained in today's world. Empowering others is far more impactful than being the hero. And the more change makers, the better equipped we are to cope with shocks like the COVID-19 pandemic. So when people care, institutional change is likely to follow. Ashoka's experience shows the importance of activating the public, making as many people as possible aware of their own power to make a difference. And as you heard from Marie Ringler at the beginning of the session, now is the time to act. And we believe Ashoka is well positioned to make your contribution matter. Please consider donating if you have the resources. Talk to us in the Ashoka booth if you see any opportunity to start a partnership with us, and nominate candidates to become Ashoka Fellows in the nomination chat. If you want to continue this conversation on cultural heritage and participation as tools of economic inclusion, please do join the working group here. Now, I'd just like to hand over to Ovidyu to just quickly take in the Menti question that he had. Yes.
Thank you so much, all of you, for joining this short question. For sure, we can spend more time expanding on these topics since they are so important in our lives. As Dini said, they are part of our soul, which, it's every day of our life. But now, just before jumping on to the next session, I would invite you to just share with us, and I'm going to send you a link where you to do that. What are the most important insights that you had from this session? So please go on the link that I just shared on the chat and ask and answer the question that is there, which is, what is the most powerful message you got out of this session? For us, it's really important to see what was important for you, because you're part of our ecosystem. So it's important to see how you feel about this conversation of culture and art. So please log on and answer. I will share with you right away once we start getting the messages. And I will also put it here. So if on our internal platform if our fellows also have, if they want to ask. And also a question to you, Lisette and Denis, what's the best way for people to contact you? Should I share any of your contacts on Swapcard? What's the best way for people to get in contact with you?
Just email or the website.
Yeah.
So just put the email address on Swapcard, or reach me by WhatsApp or Facebook or whatever. So there are many channels, but email might be the easiest.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, the same with me. Just by email, that would be great. Thank you, Ovidio.
Okay, and let's see if we have. So I will let that that Mentimeter open for you to submit if you have if you answer. Let me see. Okay, and let me share the screen so you can all see what are the answers that we all have. So what is the most important, the most powerful message that we got out of the session? So culture is fundamental to our society and identity, and we need to make it more inclusive. Culture is powerful. Culture is the breeding ground for our societies. Unique point in our culture are your beauty, your power, for sure. Don't leave your communities to go to faraway dreams that that become quickly nightmares. Realize are in your communities. Art and culture make us unique. So these are the thoughts that I would like all of us to stay in touch with. And as Avantika said, please continue the conversations that you had on Swapcard regarding this topic, this important topic. And I will share the contacts of both Lisette and Dini on Swapcard. Thank you so much for tuning in today and continue having conversation about the art and culture that we have in our life. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much, Dini and Lizette, for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Very insightful session. So thank you so much again. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Ovidio, and for arranging also. Thank you.
All right. Bye.